Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. I'm going to be talking about something, but that, you see them geese right there, that white one right there, I don't know who he think he is. Sometimes he be coming at us like he going to do something. I'm like, you ain't going to do nothing. You better get your little self on back. We the boss around here, not you. Ain't nobody scared of you. I don't care about all that ruckus y'all keeping up. I don't know who you think you are. I can do that too. I can do it too. I can do it too. A couple of times he ran at me and my husband, then we ran back at him. The white goose, not the ducks, but the goose. Boy, he took off running. We established for him who the boss was. Geese can be aggressive sometimes, but all you have to do is shoo and run back at them. For the most part, they'll give up. I didn't come out here to talk to y'all. I didn't come out here to talk to you all. Some geese can be aggressive because you see the two that look like my Sylvester, they're not acting aggressive. But look at him. I don't know who you think. I raised you from a baby. Yeah, I'm your mama. So I don't know who you think you are. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. You want to come over here and do something? You want to come do something? All I'm going to do is hug you. That's all I'm going to do. Oh, okay. All right. I'm not scared of your wings either. I'm not scared of your wings either. See, you picking up bad habits from that Chinese goose. I think that's they call him Chinese goose, and the other two, T-skin. I have to look up the names on the paperwork from when we purchased them. But anyway, y'all going on about your business somewhere. I got work to do. Animals are so funny. It's amazing when you raise some of them from babies and then they decide they're gonna do something different. Funny little characters, I tell you. But anyway, they're taking their interruption back the other way. I actually invaded their space. They were over here first, and they're kind of upset that I came and upset their environment a little bit. They were just kind of chilling right here on these leaves, and they're like, here she come. Yep, here I am. Anyway, I decided to come out here and do a video. It's very chilly today, very chilly. And it's much welcome when you've had a drought with 90 plus degrees weather. You're welcome this type of weather very, very quickly and happily and joyfully. But the video request, I'm going to try to pronounce the viewer's name, Fakriya. I believe that is the name. And she wanted me to do a video discussing how mothers go from one extreme to the other with their sons. Either she's too extremely mean and neglectful. And I'm trying to remember the email. I'm not getting it exact, but it's basically from one extreme to the other. Either extremely mean or neglectful, or too overbearing and mothering, coddling, not mothering, but coddling their sons. Okay, so I'm going to talk about both of those because I do agree that you can go from one extreme to the other. There needs to be a balance in everything that you do, whether you're raising sons or daughters. You can't go to any extreme. Okay. But anyway, first of all, I'm going to deal with those who are just super mean and very uncaring towards their sons. Now, we can kind of understand where that comes from, why it happens. With mothers, many times their sons may remind them of their fathers. And so the mother will take on a role with that son that is very uncaring. She's taking out some of her anger and frustration on that son. Now, the same can be said for daughters too, but we're going to focus on sons because that is what the request was for. Let me try to shoo these noise boxes back this way. Look, I'm doing a video going back that way. I'm talking about something important here. It seems like lately I've been getting a lot of interruptions while I'm doing my videos. My daughter Grace the other day, my husband today. These geese are always interrupting me. Always interrupting my video. Let's go on back there. Oh, okay, here we go. I just want to show this. 3 of our pigeons on the ground here. I get rare footage of the pigeons, so let me go ahead and do this since I'm getting these interruptions anyway. But the pigeons are so sweet. I love to see them interact together. Okay, let me try to force them back another way because they are trying to go somewhere, and I think I'm preventing them. Okay, if you want to try to go in the water, go ahead. Go on. I'm trying to do a video, and you are interrupting my video. Keep the noise over that way, okay? Go on. Okay, my sons and their dad are going to be fishing soon, so I better hurry up in case one of them wants to come around this way and fish. But anyway, we're talking about mothers going from one extreme to the other with their sons. Now, I've seen so much. Growing up in the city of Detroit, you witness a lot of things, okay? And I know all of these things are not exclusive to Detroit. I'm just making the point of what I've seen and what I've noticed. But you get this very stressful environment, and you're gonna get all kinds of results. A lot of moms are in survival mode, and when they are in survival mode, sometimes the children get lost in the sauce and they fall by the wayside. If the sons are young, especially, and unable to do much in the way of helping, the mom may fall short of being a parent. Now, when I say these things, I want you all to understand, I'm not talking about every single person. It's unfortunate that the internet has created an environment where everyone is so touchy and you have to tiptoe around your words so that you don't hurt anyone's feelings. And this is not about hurting feelings. This is about us redirecting and correcting the issues and problems that we have in our communities. So if there's a young mother who has a son and you haven't crossed this line of going from one extreme to the other, please pay very close attention to this video. Being a mother, you've got to learn how to love your children. When I say learn how to love your children, there is definitely a lesson to be learned in how, because sometimes a mother can be too overbearing with the love, coddling and cradling and all of that kind of stuff, and young men don't need that. There's a time and a season for everything under the sun. That's my husband and the boys over there about to start their little fishing. But anyway, with the mothers who are just very mean and hurtful towards their sons because of their dads, you as a mother cannot afford to take out your anger, frustration, and bitterness on your children. You have to understand that at some point they will grow up. They will grow up and they will remember these things. You've got to be consistent with parenting. No one is saying that this is a perfect science, okay? There will be issues and things that will arise. There are problems that come up, but you've got to learn how to work through those things. There will be days where sometimes you feel like you can't do it, okay? When those days come up, it's time to withdraw yourself instead of going into things or saying things or doing things that you will regret later on. Children are very, very observant, okay? And you as a mom can't allow your anger, bitterness, and frustration with a man, with life, with situations, with finances, or whatever it may be. You can't allow those things to cause them to damage your children. Now, when I say damage, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. Growing up in the city of Detroit, I've seen parents and I've heard parents say some awful things to their children, like, I hate you, and stuff like that. I've seen parents that would literally let their children know that they despise them. You look just, I can't stand you. You look just like your father, and all this kind of stuff. I've seen those things. I've heard those things. I remember one, I forget the name of the show, but there was a young woman getting married. And I'm sorry. Her mother was getting married. After all these years, I think the mom was in her mid-50s or something like that. But she was finally getting married, and something happened to where I believe the daughter may have announced her engagement or something like that. at her mom's wedding. It was something where the mom felt like the daughter was stealing the show. And she goes off on her daughter, and she's calling her out of her name and telling her, this is my day, so-and-so, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. This is my day, and you're ruining my day, and stuff like that. Because she felt like her wedding shouldn't have been overshadowed by an announcement. And so there's a thing where I feel like these curses have definitely taken a hold on us as a people, to where we don't understand the damage that we do to a child or to children when they hear words like "I hate you" and "you look just like your father," and you remind me of your mom. Just different things like that, where we're spewing these hateful things to where children are like, well, I love my mom, I love my dad, and here you are, saying that this, that, and the other about them. Or even in a case where the child may not know their father, but you've made it very clear to them that you didn't have a good relationship with the father, and now you're telling the son that you remind me of your father. That son will begin to act out eventually. He'll say, okay, so you said my father was no good, so okay, I'm going to live up to that since you keep saying that's what I am. You said my father was low down, rotten, and dirty. Okay, since you keep saying I remind you of him, maybe I should just be just that, since you're going to keep calling me this. Now, I'm not going to completely abandon the woman's feelings in all of this. Let me just back it up a bit. I do understand that sometimes the cares of this life, the ways of this world, can get to a child, especially if they're going to public school and going to places and being around people who are not structured in the way they're living. Sometimes that can affect children, and they can bring that stuff home, and it can try a mother's patience. But the problem is, I'm just going to keep it real right here. The problem is the very fact that we are sending our children out to people to teach them. Now, I get a little flack and feedback whenever I talk about homeschooling and things of that nature. People say, well, Deborah, everybody can't do what you're doing, and everybody can't afford to homeschool, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. And I say, my take on this is we can't afford not to. Because the things that are affecting our children the greatest are really those things that they pick up outside of us. And then when they bring it back to you as the mother, you get so frustrated with them because of how they're acting, because of what they're picking up out in the streets and at school and all these other places and on television. You get frustrated with them and you act out against them. So it's a vicious circle. For me, I don't understand why people say you can't afford to homeschool, and you say that you have to work and this, that, and the other. I've shared many times before. There was a sister who, she said, regardless to what is going on, I'm going to homeschool my daughter. She actually took her daughter to work with her. Now, I do understand that not every job will accommodate you like that. But think about those mothers who educate their children when they come home in the evening. When you do what you have to do, you will find a way, especially if you know it's going to ruin or damage your child. If you know something is going to damage them, wouldn't you want to find a way? Wouldn't you want to try your best? Now, I wish I had an easier answer for those who respond in that way. I'm not saying that you're a bad parent because you can't homeschool. What I'm saying is look at what's happening to our children. Maybe I'll do a whole other video focusing on this at some point, but right now I want to go to the other half of this. The other extreme is mothers who overprotect and overcoddle their children. Now, that was the way it was put to me, paraphrasing how it was put to me, where you go from one extreme to the other. I don't believe in overprotecting at all. I don't believe she said overprotecting, but something of the sort of mothers who are just too soft with their sons. you can never overprotect your children. That's just where I'm coming from. I know a lot of people will disagree with that. There's a difference in overprotecting a child and being an overbearing parent. Okay, not allowing the children to have any amount of freedom whatsoever. And I've seen that before. When we were growing up as kids, I remember we would go, my mom had a friend and she had 3 kids. And whenever we would go over, we would watch the kids and they would say, ma'am. They called their mom ma'am, which is nothing wrong with that. But they would say, ma'am, can we go to the bathroom? Ma'am, can we flush the toilet? Ma'am, can we wash our hands? When we heard that, we were like, what the heck is going on here? Because our mom wasn't like that. They had to ask their mom to do everything. Everything. And so it was odd to us as children. I don't know what brought her to that point of making them ask for every little thing that they had to do. Now, to me, that is overbearing, but you can never be overprotective. When I hear people say overprotective, and then next thing you know, their children are out here caught up in all kinds of situations, then you say to yourself, well, you weren't protective enough. But anyway, when it comes to sons, I'll put it to you this way. Sometimes there is the mothering instinct just kicks in. If you feel like that your child is sick or in danger or something like that, that mothering thing is going to kick in regardless of whether it's a son or a daughter. But I have seen where mothers are not letting their sons grow up. They're babying them on into adulthood. They are not cutting the cord. You got this big 40-year-old man still attached by the cord. And I almost feel like I need more time on this particular aspect too, because I don't want to get it mixed up with someone who loves their mother and looks out for their mother. I'm talking about, here, I'm going to give you an extreme that I saw someone put in video. This is an extreme I saw someone put on video where there was a mother who had a husband. I don't know if it was the boy's biological father or not, but anyway, the boy looked like he was about 21 years old, and of course it was a satire video where they had this big giant man. He had a pacifier in his mouth and he looked like he had on some type of diaper, and he had some ponytails in his head. And the mother was like, don't you talk to my baby like that, don't do that. And he was whining like a big giant 21-year-old baby, and the father was like, you better get his so-and-so out of here. This so-and-so, this so-and-so, that. It was a satire video. And the father or the man threw something at that big boy, baby or whatever. And the mother just went crazy on him. Like, you keep your hands off of my baby and all of this kind of stuff. I've seen mothers coddle the hell out of their sons to the point where you would think she just gave birth to them. And that is a no-no. When you have sons, there are moments where you have to mother them, okay? I'll give you a good example. My son Elias today earlier, he was outside working, and it's kind of cold out here. It's a little nippy today. And he's out here working, unloading some things off of the back of our trailer. We have some wood on the back of the trailer. He's unloading some bricks earlier, and I told him, I said, look, son, you need a jacket on. It's kind of cold out here. You know, this is that kind of weather where you can catch a cold. I said, you need a jacket on. And so he said, okay. You know, so that is not over mothering. That's a concerned mom saying, look, go in here, protect yourself from this weather, because grown men get sick too. Now, you have a situation where a boy, I remember this kid long time ago. I was still a kid at the time. I remember this boy was big as I don't know what. His mama used to pick his big behind up. He was 10 years old, and he was a big 10. And I said to myself, I thought it was weird back then to see a mother picking up a big, giant 10-year-old like that. That's, to me, over mothering and overbearing and coddling. Let him grow up and be a man, okay? Let him grow up and be a man. Like, sometimes when our sons are lifting things, I can tell, like the younger one, he wants to prove, hey, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, you sit there, you say, okay, let me see, handle this, whatever. And you're sitting there watching and you're saying, okay, he got this. But sometimes if a mother is too overbearing, she won't allow them to take the risk that they need to take, or take that next level to being a young man, and doing the things that they need to do. Another good example I remember when Aliyah was 2 years old, and we had went to visit my sister-in-law at their home, and she has like a really steep hill, probably steeper than the one you see behind my husband and son's fishing right now. And he was 2 years old, and he took off running real fast down that hill. I said, before he went though, he was going with my niece and my oldest daughter, and I said, I don't think it's a good idea for them to be running down the hill. And my husband said, let that boy play, let him be a boy. I said, okay. And so he's running down the hill real fast, and next thing you know, there goes the tumble. And I remember I looked back at my husband, I said, see, that's what I was talking about right there. He fell down the hill and he hurt himself. And of course, me as a mother, I went running to pick him up. So that isn't a case of over-mothering or being overprotective. That is a case of trying to keep your child from being injured, you see. And in that case, I was right. In that case, my husband, I'm not going to say he was wrong, but he was saying, look, he's a boy, let him run down that hill. And so from there, our son, Aliyah, he understands where I'm coming from. I don't even say anything to him. He's grown now. But when he saw the other boys climbing the tree, he told them to get down. We didn't have to say anything. He told them, y'all get out of that tree. He said, that's too dangerous. And see, guess what? I didn't keep instilling stuff in him. I always instill, be careful. Not to try things. Don't not try things, but be careful. I'm always instilling that, even in my husband. Some of you all who follow our ministry channel, you heard when my husband was up on the scaffolding and I was telling him to be careful. And he was like, woman, I got this type thing. He didn't quite say it like that. But minutes later, he came falling off of the scaffolding. And when he hit hard. And I literally had to pick him up and carry him into the house before the ambulance got there, just to get him comfortable. And so I just have that mothering thing that I do, and I do that with my sons. And so that's going to be there for all mothers. If you care about your children, that's going to be there. But you don't want to be overbearing. You don't want to be to the point where you don't allow them to be young men and they grow up and they be useless. You don't want to raise useless young men who can't do anything. Our sons, my husband is teaching them how to fish. The next thing is they've learned how to fish a long time ago, but they want to learn how to hunt. They're learning how to build things, how to repair plumbing, even how to do just minor things in electrical, very minor, nothing dangerous, of course. Just watching their dad and observing him do things, they're learning how to do things and building things. As a matter of fact, we'll show some videos where they've made little structures for the animals. They know how to use power tools. Those are things that a mother just kind of pulls back and allows them to do. But then, of course, you're always making sure that they have the goggles and the mask on when needed, if they're cutting something, and just different things. I'm always going to do that. That's just what a mother does. But you don't want to be overbearing. You don't want to have it to where they feel afraid to do things. You want them to be able to learn how to explore. When you look at other kids of other nations, these Gentile children, they're learning how to shoot weapons. I remember when we first took them to a shooting range, the instructor there was very, very accommodating and showing everyone how to do things. And of course, me as a mom, I'm still wanting to be careful with everything, but these are things that they are teaching their children. And some of us act like we're afraid to teach our children how to do this stuff. Afraid of what? They need to learn how to do these things properly. And so, and this is what we're talking about in this video. Moms that go from one extreme to the other. Don't be too hard and too rough and too angry towards your sons to where they feel like you hate them. Don't do that. If you feel something boiling up inside of you because of their father or the relationship that you lost with their dad, or you don't have a good relationship with them, that child is yours. Remember, that child is going to grow up one day. He's going to be in his 20s and 30s and 40s, and you don't want that child to have memories of you being this horrible person that showed no love to them. And let me take it a step further. It's not showing love to your child, giving them everything they want and sending them outside and say, go, go. If they ask you to go somewhere, yeah, go ahead, get out of here. A child will begin to realize that, oh, she didn't care about us. She just wanted us out of her hair. She just wanted us to leave the house. She just wanted her space. You see, they will understand that if you're allowing them to go in the streets and hang out with anybody, you're not checking who the person is or the people are that they're hanging with. You don't know the parents of these people. You're just sending them out the door. They're coming home at 1 and 2 in the morning, and they're only 12 and 13 years old. Trust me, that kid will know that you didn't care anything about them. So even a child that's been coddled, they will say, well, you didn't let me do this. You didn't teach me how to do that. Blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. At the end of the day, we are responsible for what we teach our children. So with that being said, let's make sure, especially with our sons, this video is talking about sons, let's make sure that we are handling our business. And if we are not sure what to do, ask some questions. But by all means, never allow yourself to be that kind of mom that goes from one extreme to the other. But have a fair and righteous balance with whatever you do, regardless to whether it's raising children, cooking food, growing food, raising animals, drawing, painting, singing, whatever it is you do. Have a balance in that. Being a wife too, I'll throw that one in there as well. Okay, family, with that I will say shalom. I hope that this covered what you were trying to get me to cover, Sister Fakriya. With that, now I will say shalom.